In this video, I want to talk about the one ADHD symptom that never appears in diagnostic manuals, but breaks marriages, friendships, and families. And that symptom is unpredictable safety. When you love someone with ADHD, or you are that person, safety can feel like a light switch. Some days you're fully present, fun, deeply connected. Other days you're late, you shut down, you're scrolling, you're irritable, and you don't quite understand why. From the outside, it looks like chaos, impulsivity, as if you don't care. From the inside, it often feels like shame, confusion, and a nervous system on fast forward. And if you grew up with chaos, criticism, or emotional neglect, ADHD rewires how you expect love to feel. That's where relationships start to fragment. I'm Dr. Sanil Rege, consultant psychiatrist and educator. A lot of advice about ADHD in relationships talks about, well, set reminders to be on time, use calendars, why don't you communicate better? All of them to a certain extent useful, but they don't touch the deeper reality, which is ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition that shapes how the brain processes time, emotion, and threat. And those differences shape attachment, personality style, and the emotional language we learn as children. And all of that shows up later in how we connect, withdraw, apologize, or don't. So in this video, I want to take you deeper than simply thinking ADHD equals chaos. So here's the plan for this video. First, we'll look at why ADHD looks like chaos in relationships. Here, we'll look at frontal-striatal circuits, time blindness, emotional dysregulation, and why partners feel unprioritized. 2, we'll look at neurodevelopment, attachment, and emotional language. How growing up with undiagnosed ADHD, either as a child or a parent, shaped safety, trust, and the words we have or don't have for feelings. Number 3, we'll explore the neuroscience of safety, threat, and predictability in chaos. Why some people with ADHD are drawn to intense, unstable relationships because their nervous system is used to it. Counterintuitive, I know. Number 4, repetition, compulsion, and patterns in love. Another paradoxical concept where the brain unconsciously recreates familiar, emotional situations even when they're painful. And number 5, what actually helps? Psychotherapy informed by neuroscience. So let's start with what most people see first. Why ADHD feels like chaos in relationships. When most people think of ADHD, what comes to mind is can't focus, can't sit still, impulsive. But in relationships, it shows up more like, you never listen to me. You say you care, but you forget the important things. I feel like I'm not important. It seems like your new idea is more important than me. Underneath this are real circuits. The frontal-striatal-limbic networks that regulate attention switching, moving between task and the person in front of you. 2, time perception, the difference between now and not now. 3rd, inhibition, pausing before interrupting, reacting, or saying the sharp thing. You see, if those circuits are unstable, relationships will feel the instability. You intend to be on time, but are 30 minutes late. Here is the video where I've covered how to change chronic lateness. You fully mean your apology, but repeat the pattern a week later. You genuinely care, but your behavior doesn't consistently signal that care. Put yourself in your partner's shoes, and it can feel like, I'm not safe to rely on this person. The person's unreliable. But what I know in clinical practice is that many people with ADHD care deeply about their relationships. They blame themselves. They feel the shame. They feel the criticism, rejection, and disappointment. Here, the word rejection-sensitive dysphoria is often thrown about, and there's a big debate about its existence. However, it's a real pattern of heightened threat response. So ultimately, we end up with this painful loop. ADHD-related behavior, forgetting, zoning out, interrupting. Then the partner interpreting it as you don't care. The emotional world created is conflict and criticism. The ADHD brain then experiences this as threat, resulting in shame or shutdown, or anger as counterattack, which then leads to more conflict, more shame, and more avoidance. From the outside, chaos. From the inside, a threat-sensitive brain trying to navigate complexity without the tools that were never fully developed to manage these relationships. And in a moment, we'll go back in time to childhood, because these patterns were created when the child with ADHD was trying to work out. Am I too much? Am I not enough? Is it safe to be me in this world? So that takes us to point 2, neurodevelopment, attachment, and emotional language. You see, there is this big debate between neurodevelopmental conditions like ADHD and personality. We look at it as if it's one or the other. It's not. It's about developmental trajectories. Imagine a child with ADHD, a brain wired for novelty, movement, and fast-shifting attention. The environment, school, home routines, is often wired for stillness, sustained attention, and obedience. If the adults around them understand this, the message becomes slightly different. Your brain's different, let's work with it. If they don't, the message is often, you're careless, you're disruptive, really clumsy, you always make mistakes, you're really sensitive, really loud. Now, layer in attachment. We know that a child learns emotional safety through consistent, predictable responses. When I'm upset, someone comes. Someone labeling their emotions. I can see that you're upset. What's happened? Curiosity rather than judgment. Help me understand what happened here. But if a parent is stressed, overwhelmed, or has their own untreated ADHD or trauma, the child often receives mixed signals. And it's no one's fault here. Sometimes they receive warmth, sometimes irritation. Both parties are trying to do their best. They might receive naming of behavior instead of exploration of emotions. You're naughty, dramatic, overreacting, rather than the naming of emotion. So there's little help for the child to link emotion to need, which then creates the action. So the child's internal script becomes, my intensity is dangerous or annoying to others. No one likes me. My needs are inconvenient. Or I must manage this alone. Now fast forward 20 years. The script is still the same, but that child is now an adult with ADHD in a relationship. Their neurobiology is still about fast shifts, emotional intensity, and heightened threat sensitivity. Their emotional script, however, might still be the same. I'm too much, or I'm too intense. I need to solve this myself, or a burst of anger that really means I feel rejected and scared right now. For clinicians, this is where formulation matters a lot more than labels, because we're not just dealing with ADHD plus insecure attachment as separate boxes. We're looking at how neurodevelopmental differences and attachment experiences have co-constructed a way of relating. In teaching on the academy, I often say personality is neurodevelopment expressed. And that takes us to the next point, point 3, the neuroscience of safety, threat, and predictability in chaos. Relationships are not just emotional. They're neurobiological regulation systems. A diet. At any moment in a relationship, your brain is asking, am I safe enough to relax? Do I need to mobilize? Do I need to shut down? Can I explore, or do I need to move away? Here are the key brain players. Amygdala for rapid threat detection, prefrontal cortex for regulation, decision-making, looking at both sides of the equation, integrating uncertainty. The salience network, tagging what matters now. Striatal circuits, mobilizing action, reward, and habits. In ADHD, again, these systems show heightened variability, fast shifts, delayed or inconsistent top-down control, so the prefrontal cortex struggles to manage emotions, and reward prediction alterations, where the brain prioritizes immediate rewards over distant rewards. Now bring this into relationships, and if love and attachment has historically felt unpredictable, conditional, or linked with criticism, that's what the brain knows. The brain has become an expert for the chaotic world. This is where predictability in chaos comes in. Paradoxically, the person experiences stability in instability. This is also a theme in borderline personality organization that I've covered in the video here. This does not mean that individuals with ADHD have BPD. We're talking about two different constructs. For some people with ADHD, a calm, consistent relationship feels strangely unfamiliar, even boring or suspicious, whilst a more volatile dynamic, intense highs, painful lows, may feel recognizable. You see, the key here is not about being comfortable. The individual may know that the relationship is highly intense, probably even not adaptive, but for the brain, it's known and predictable. And the brain ultimately favors predictability. And this predictability and repetition of familiar patterns is what we call, from a psychodynamic perspective, repetition compulsion. This is the drive to recreate familiar emotional climates in the hope that this time the ending will be different. An important point to recognize here is that this is not happening at a conscious level. The person doesn't choose to do this. This is being embedded at a habitual level, almost as fluent as how we speak our first language. From a predictive coding perspective, it's the brain trying to resolve all prediction errors. For example, maybe if I keep choosing partners who feel like my early caregivers, I'll finally get the safety I didn't have then. Of course, consciously, the person's saying something different. Why do I keep ending up in these dynamics? So with this in mind, let me walk you through some common patterns I see in clinical practice so that you can start spotting them in yourself, or if you're a clinician in your patients, or if you're in a relationship with your partner. Because once you can see the pattern, that's when you can start changing this pattern. So here are some patterns of ADHD in relationships. Number one, the pursuer-distancer loop. So here the ADHD partner feels criticized or misunderstood. The nervous system experiences threats. Their actions, they withdraw into hyperfocus, work, screens, or internal shutdown. The other partner feels abandoned, pursues harder, more questions, what's happened, more protests, you don't pay me any attention. That's you again, withdrawing into your room. Much more emotional intensity. This increased intensity further overwhelms the ADHD nervous system, leading to further withdrawal, and the cycle continues. If the childhood ADHD brain taught the ADHD partner that emotions equals danger, then this loop confirmed their prediction. They'll say, see, feelings always end badly, and that's the deep prediction that they go forward with. But here's something else happens to the other partner as well. The other partner, for example, if they've had a childhood prediction or a childhood language that says inconsistency is equal to danger, then for them, the loop confirms something else. And they say, see, people always leave unless I chase. So note what's happening here. Two nervous systems, both trying to feel safe, but with different childhood predictions, now locked into a dynamic that makes both feel unsafe. The second relationship pattern, the overfunctioner, underfunctioner pattern. Because ADHD can affect organization, planning, and task completion, many couples may find that one partner becomes the project manager, remembering appointments, logistics, bills, the calendar, organizing parties or organizing drop-offs and pickups, and lots more, whilst the other individual becoming subtly or openly the one who can't cope. Someone who's becoming a lot more dependent on the other partner. Over time, this shapes the identity. The overfunctioner may feel resentful, parentified, and lonely, or unappreciated, while the underfunctioner may feel ashamed and dependent. Psychodynamically, it can replay early dynamics, the ADHD partner in the child position and the other in the parent position, which may feel uncomfortable for both. Even if both are highly capable adults in other areas of life, without awareness, this becomes a self-fulfilling prediction. The more one partner controls, the less the other develops their systems and agency, and the less they develop, the more the first partner has to control. And what I see in clinical practice is one partner telling me I have to do everything for them, whilst the other partner saying I have no independence. Can you see how this has become a trap now? Number 3, the pattern of emotional flooding and sharp exits. Many individuals with ADHD describe being emotionally flooded very, very quickly. So a small criticism can feel like a huge rejection. A minor disappointment can lead to reactivation of all the predictions of being not good enough. This can trigger sudden outbursts, words that are said that individuals may regret later on or might not even remember, or quick exits, walking out, ghosting, or just not saying anything. To the partner, this feels disproportionate, dramatic, uncaring. So to the ADHD nervous system, it is I need distance now, or I'm going to fragment. And in such a pattern, once again, both parties can blame each other. The fourth pattern is a third object relationship. Sometimes the safest relationship isn't with a person at all. It becomes a relationship with the game or the internet or work or another special interest because these become predictable objects in an unpredictable world. They don't criticize, they always respond in the same way, they deliver reliable mastery, control, or neurobiologically, people often say they're predictable, reliable dopamine from substances or the internet or the phone. So when real relationships feel confusing or painful, the ADHD brain turns to the third objects. Partners then say, you're married to your phone or to your work or hobby. It's like we've always come second to their work. Underneath, it's often, I trust this object not to hurt me in the ways people did. And that's why the object becomes such an important part of their life. So with all this in mind, let's now touch on treatment. We'll explore psychotherapy that incorporates neurobiology. You see, when it comes to relationships, sure, we can diagnose ADHD, prescribe medication, and give behavioral strategies. We help, but we leave a lot on the table if we do not take into account relationships. Because individuals with ADHD also need a new experience of safety, trust, and emotional language. Maybe not in everyone, but for those where relationships are suffering or for those who want to engage in meaningful relationships. Good psychotherapy, thus, for ADHD in relationships integrates the following. Number one, psychoeducation with emotional meaning. So what we're trying to do here is to map the circuit to the symptom, to the relational impact, which then gives us the repair strategy. For example, when your brain switches tasks quickly, your partner may feel unimportant. How can we signal to them that they matter? What can we say, even when your attention shifts? Number two, building emotional language as a safety tool. Remember, many people with ADHD have a limited or under-practiced emotional vocabulary. And often what happens here is individuals may shy away from expressing vulnerability, or they may rely on their dominant language of anger. What we're trying to do here is we're turning I'm just angry into I felt ashamed or I feel scared that I've disappointed you again. What we're doing here is expressing vulnerability. Instead of you're always on my back, you always criticize me. We say something like, when you remind me frequently, for me, it sounds like you're saying you don't believe I'll ever get this right. By doing this, we're also addressing neurobiology. Because when the individual's emotions are seen or shared, the amygdala settles, the prefrontal cortex activates. The salience network can re-tag the partner as safe enough to express emotions, to converse with, or to share, or to connect. Third, working with repetition compulsion. Here we're connecting the current patterns to past patterns. We can ask, where in your childhood or adolescent years or earlier years did this feeling or pattern first show up? Does this pattern of behavior remind you of something earlier in your life? We're not digging for trauma here. We're helping the brain see the link to past patterns and old predictions. Over time, and this takes time, corrective experiences such as being angry and recognizing that they're not abandoned, being honest and not shamed. All of these update the brain's models. Number four, using structures without treating the individual as a child. We know that structure and predictability is a form of medication. In clinical practice, I often say what we're providing is doses of predictability because that's what your brain needs. But we must use it in a way that builds agency, not dependence. For example, a person with ADHD can design their own reminder system, check weekly with a therapist or with their partner. Couples can co-create certain signals, for example, talk about green light or red light being paused and revisit later. One can create their own language. So before I end this video, I'll give a simple emotional language exercise for couples. Let's call it the emotion, need, offer check-in. Once a day or after a conflict, each person completes 3 sentences. First, we start with the emotion. Right now, I feel, and you can pick from a feelings list. Sad, scared, ashamed, lonely, confused, overwhelmed, relieved. The key here is to label an emotion. It does not have to be perfect. One can even say, I'm confused. Confusion is an emotion. Number 2, we link the emotion to a need, because emotions are signals of unmet needs. This emotion is telling me I need completed reassurance or space or clarity or repair, appreciation, touch. Number 3, offer. Here, it's about one thing I can do or we can do about this is set a timer for a task, agree on a time to talk, write it down, or create a language using traffic light words, for example, or other strategies that help both parties understand each other. For partners, this makes a big difference because it shifts the narrative from "you're doing this to me," which is projection, to "this is what's happening inside me and this is what I'm asking for." That's interoception. Over time, this builds the emotional vocabulary. It's about creating a new emotional language that is liberating, that creates co-sharing of conflict and intensity. It builds predictable repair strategies and a new form of safety. The brains learn even when we have conflict, we know how to find each other again. So if you only remember one thing from this video, remember this. ADHD in relationships is not about a chaotic person and a long-suffering partner. It's about two nervous systems trying to feel safe, seen, and significant. When we add neuroscience and psychodynamic understanding, we stop blaming each other and we start working with circuits, our histories, emotions, and current needs. I'm Dr. Sanil Rege, and you're watching the Dr. Rege channel. If you like this video, hit the like button and let me know in the comments section what thoughts you have about ADHD and relationships. Share this video with someone who needs a more compassionate, neurobiologically informed view of ADHD and relationships. And if you're a clinician who wants to go further, the Academy by PsychScene is where we connect these dots in depth, from circuits to clinical practice. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, stay curious. Bye-bye.